message, and then I'll hand things off to Josh. Kind of the latest, we've had the inspection, the full inspection report has come back, and then also we've had several contractors look at the property, giving us estimates on roof and different things like that. And the roofing numbers came back a little bit higher than what was initially projected by the seller, and so we gave a counter offer of $140,000. And so the seller's gonna meet today and discuss the matter, and so we'll find out. I mean, we still would like the building, probably even if they didn't budge at all, but hopefully they're willing to move the marker a little bit, help us save some shekels, some denarii. And so this morning, as we think about moving forward and purchasing this property, as you guys, if you've seen it, there's going to be quite a bit of serving opportunities, quite a bit of work involved. I guess that's the positive. Plenty of opportunities for you to gain rewards in heaven. Trying to keep positive attitude about this. But at the same time, we also, as I mentioned in the prayer, that, we want to keep the right priorities. And, we do think this is a good opportunity. We do think this would be a good stewardship of our resources, as we, clearly are in tightened space here. And at the same time as, leadership, we want to still continue to be able to serve the spiritual needs of the congregation. If you think of a situation that arose in Acts chapter 6, and when there was a problem that had arisen amongst the early church, where some of the widows were being overlooked in the distribution of food. Some of the Grecian widows, in Acts 6, verse 1, it says, "Now, at that time the disciples were increasing in number, and a complaint arose on the part of the Hellenistic Jews against the native Hebrews, because their widows were being overlooked in the daily serving of food. So that the 12 summoned the congregation of the disciples and said, 'It is not desirable for us to neglect the word of God in order to serve tables. Therefore, brethren, select among you 7 men of good reputation, full of the Spirit and of wisdom, whom we may put in charge of this task. But we will devote ourselves to prayer and to the ministry of the word.'" So you see, the apostles in the early church were functioning like elders in that early church, and a real need had arisen where some of the widows were being overlooked in the distribution of food, a problem, and yet, you see the apostles they don't neglect the problem by just ignoring it, but they delegate certain people to deal with it, and so that they could keep the focus on prayer and the ministry of the word. And so with that in mind, we're going to need all of your help in that, and also we've have specifically been talking with Josh about help kind of organizing and administrating this Herculean task. And you all see Josh up here on Sunday morning giving the announcements and whatnot. But just kind of a little bit of background, I think that would help you guys to understand that Josh has been involved in pastoral ministry and various aspects of ministry over the years. In fact, some years ago, around the same time that Sovereign Grace Chapel was being planted, Josh was planting a church. It started in his apartment and then moved to a coffee shop, and then I think to a theater, and then, or at some time you're at YCS at Youngstown Christian. Was that from the coffee shop to YCS? Yeah. Okay, and then they moved to a theater, and then to purchasing a church building. And so he's been involved in multiple kind of building renovation projects. He has a theological background, going to Southwestern Theological Seminary, and also now he runs a company called Rocket Republic that manages complex web design projects involved with different ministries, and so Josh is really good at a lot of these administrative organizing kinds of things. And it's just funny how the Lord wires people differently. My wife, she loves to pack because she likes to organize everything. And, when I pack, you're lucky if the clothes are folded. That I'd usually just roll them up and shove them in the bag. And she's a great help to me. I like to think that maybe I help her to loosen up a little bit and not be as organized as maybe she could be, and she helps me to basically not be a slob, and and so in a similar way, we've thought it prudent to have Josh help us out with some of the organization of these work groups, and to kind of be a point man between us and you guys involved in helping. And he's going to talk about feedback loops for ideas and involvement and whatnot. And so I think with that in mind, I'll hand it over to Josh.
All right. How's everybody doing, huh? Yeah. All right. Well, this is good. I'm excited about this morning. We get to talk through the building and just talking through a bit of a plan for everything. And what's really cool about this is, the building in a lot of sense is not, it's obviously not the mission. It's not, this is what it is, though. It's an incredible tool for the mission, and that's what makes it, such an awesome opportunity, because we get to, again, even embed ourselves into the community even deeper, and, just to be a lighthouse for people coming to know Jesus, And I'm so excited because I want to see more and more and more people discipled and brought to know who Jesus is. That's what this whole thing is about. It's not about a property. A property is just it's a tool it's a tool that is bringing us to be able to communicate the gospel in this community even in a deeper way. So super fun. So so a couple of things, this is obviously a very large task. If you've been through the property, if you've gone on a tour of it, you'll see, there's a lot of the building seems like it's it's coming to us live from the 1970s. That's right. It's got some of that vibe to it, and it's also got it's got some water damage in a lot of places. There's a lot of outside. They literally have not. I think they mowed the grass outside, but there's definitely it was kind of one of those things where it was very hands off for a while. So which it's funny because I look at that stuff and I'm like, okay, this is fun. This is where we get to go to work. I love to see properties that are kind of abandoned. Part of when we planted our church in Youngstown, I love Youngstown because I love the urban decay. And we love to take stuff that is all run down and make it look beautiful, And in fact, it's funny because when we first bought the property on it's 801 Wick Avenue, so it's an old, just like gorgeous cathedral, and we had driven by it several times. We were like, I wonder if anyone's selling that building or whatever, So because it didn't look like anybody was meeting there, and so it was such a God thing because. we ended up looking it up on Mahoning County Auditor and then kind of tracing back who we thought owned it. And we ended up, me and a guy named Scott, who was an elder at the time, he and I went and we ended up at this like rundown place in the backside of Youngstown, and we're like, this is who it says owns the building, you know? And so went up, knocked on the door, everything was like kind of broken down, and nobody answered the door. And on the way out, we noticed a for rent sign that was in a trash can. We called the for rent sign in the trash can. It happened to be the brother-in-law of the guy who owned the building. And he said, as a matter of fact, we are selling it, you know? So through a set of like crazy circumstances, we ended up buying this old stone cathedral for the Youngstown price of $52,500, you know, so which was just absolutely unbelievable. But when we first went into it, you know, like I still remember walking up. There's a bell tower, which, you know, how cool is that, right? To have a bell tower, and but we went up there, and like the actual windows were broken out, and there were dead birds in it, you know. So, you know, so I look at this place and I'm like, man, we're solid. I did not find any dead animals. So, you know, so to me, if there's no dead animals, we are already alive. We're miles ahead on this thing, okay? Miles ahead. So we did end up you know, completely renovating the property and renovating everything, and we ended up purchasing like through the tax liens, we purchased a whole bunch of properties right around the building. And so, you know, right now, Pastor Brett Beck is pastoring Youngstown Metro Church. He's just such an awesome guy. He spoke at the RefCon, so I don't know if you guys remember him. But anyway, good times. I love this stuff. I'm really excited about this. I love seeing things that are you know, somewhat, you know, either broken or broken down, and then taking those and just breathing some life back into it and really making it something special. So it's going to take a collective effort. So first slide here, a couple of things that one of the big things that we want to make sure that we have is proper input from everybody, because, you know, I know that there's, you know, I don't think that we're, you know, there's nobody that's like, you know, hey, we know everything about what's going on with this stuff. And so, you know, I know that a lot of times, you know, everybody's got different ideas of what can happen, and everybody's got different, you know, thoughts of what we can do in different places. So one of the first things that we wanted to create was an input process or a feedback loop, because I want to make sure that everybody is heard on this process, and also that all of the ideas are properly processed, right? And that takes a little bit of effort when it comes to, you know, communication's easy when it's, you know, if it's just the two of us sitting down, it's easy to talk, right? But, you know, when we're getting feedback from, you know, 100 plus people, you know, we've like, it's a little bit different. We have to actually create a bit of a process for that. So what we have is we're going to be doing what I would say is a formal process and an informal process, okay? So the formal process is, if you have any ideas at all, we would love for you to put it on the Connect card. That's an easy way, right? So if you're here on Sunday and you're like, oh, I totally forgot I was going to say something about this, boom, fill out a Connect card. There's a notes section at the bottom. Feel free to write any ideas or thoughts, or you know, bring something to our attention, or like, hey, I've got a brother who is a killer contractor. He paints, he does, and he's really good at it. You know, boom, put that info in there and send it on. Put it in the offering plate, and we'll get that and we'll process that. Okay, so that's one easy way. It's kind of a formal way, but we want everybody, if you do have an idea, please help us out by engaging sort of this formal process with it, because it's going to just make our life so much easier. Also, there is a feedback button on the website. So if you go onto the main website, there's a new button at the very top of it, and it just says feedback, okay? On mobile, I forgot to put this up there, but on mobile, it's actually on the menu. You click the menu, and at the very bottom, it says feedback, okay? So if you click that feedback button, then what comes up is this is a form. Okay, and it's a very short form. Name, what's basically in just a description where you can kind of write out, you can write out your thoughts to us and help us, by putting those thoughts down into that form. Now, just so that you know kind of what's going on behind the scenes, next slide kind of shows a couple of things here. So what we've built is we've got an automatic sort of workflow happening. So whenever this, and this is just kind of behind the scenes, right? I'm showing you how this is how the sausage is made, right? Like you get behind the scenes, this is what's going on. So the automatic workflow is when you click send on the form, it's going to automatically email that response to myself, to the elders, to the main people who are kind of involved in the project. And then it will come into sort of our project management system as a card in sort of this column right here. So what it does for us is it allows us to track ideas and to track thoughts and to bring them in and to be able to it makes us to where we can process these things and do it in an orderly manner. Because obviously we know the pastors and elders, obviously, like there's so much that's continuing to go on, but also the rest of us that are going to be working on this project already typically have full-time jobs or, let's just say design studios that they're running, so, so there's stuff going on. So what we want to do is we want to make this process to where we don't have to think about it as much and we can still get a massive project done by all working together and having this sort of, process or system in place. So, that's sort of the workflow. So just so you know, once you type in that form, and if you put it into a Connect card, then what Devin's going to do is she's going to actually take that and just input it into the form and follow our workflow. So either way, it's probably easier if you just fill out the form because then it kind of saves us a step. But if we just want to make it easy to give feedback so that we can easy to process the feedback. And then go ahead to the next slide. So what we'll be creating along with this is a work group, okay? And a work group is going to be a group of people that are coming together to kind of help sort of like lighten the load for all of the major projects that are going to have to happen. Now, a work group, just to kind of, frame this, because a lot of times in church world, like churches think of committees, like, and depending, like I grew up in it, my dad was a pastor, I just, it was like committees on committees on committees, and it was like the committees got together and they decided the color of the carpet, and then there was a business meeting of the church splits, there's that was kind of that's like the MO, of church world. So we are going to be building a work group, and that is not a committee. Committees make decisions. We're working on getting stuff done. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're coming together to work together, not to decide to color the carpet. Or tile, or engineered hardwood. Whatever happens, right? So. For this work group, we're going to have consistent meetings, 15, 20 minutes after church every week. And that's so that we can just keep the ball rolling. And then, different folks in the work group are going to have different areas where they can, be making calls and like kind of arranging things and setting stuff up, kind of throughout the week. Get together, work group meeting, standing, hey, check in, boom, we keep this thing rolling, right? So, so what we're looking for in this work group, we're looking for a mixture of skilled and unskilled folks. And when I'm saying skilled, I'm not just, I'm meaning technically skilled, in the sense of like, there's those of you that are out there that are involved in a particular trade and have specialized knowledge. We want some folks that are a part of these different trades that do have specialized knowledge, because that's going to really help. But we're also looking for, technically unskilled folks as well that are just ready to hustle. You know what I mean? So like ready to get stuff done, ready to get in there and make it happen. Okay, so we're looking for We're looking for a group of people, some of them, who have some technical expertise in some of these trades, and then some who are just ready to get in there and work. So, and that it doesn't mean that we're going to be doing that group is not going to be the ones doing all the work, but we're going to help being the ones who are kind of coordinating and making sure that we can kind of, dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure that we're getting the stuff there and making sure everything's happening, right? So when it comes to the actual like all of the work that's going to be going on, we're obviously we're going to bring in some folks to actually do certain things, and then all of us we're gonna roll up the sleeves, get our arms dirty, and get to work, folks. All right, so that's the work group. Next. Decision. So just to kind of run through this quickly, obviously SGC set up as an eldership. Pastor Matt already talked on this a little bit. What we're going to be doing is the elders are going to be meeting regularly, and they'll be presented with options and feedback. So one of the things that they have asked and that we're kind of talking through is don't go to them directly. This is kind of why we have this feedback system and why we're trying to make it a little bit more structured and organized so that they're not just getting bogged down, and so that we can actually process the request. Because if you just catch somebody and you're like, oh, hey, dude, we should totally, whatever that is. That's how I would say it anyway. You probably are. That's how I would say it. I'd be like, yo, bro, come on. But if you pull them off, it's really hard for anybody to, remember it half the time and to really get it into a process. So if it's an actual piece of feedback, we want to have it and we want to be able to process it, right? So go through the feedback system. I'll say this as well, and I'll put this out there because I know sometimes it's hard to type out your thoughts, right? It's hard to express a complex idea when it just on a feedback form. So what I will say is, please, if you've got any ideas, also you can come up and talk to me as well. Okay, so I would love to hear the ideas. I would love to hear what you're thinking, but then always follow it up with an actual feedback request. So talk to me, but also submit a request so that so then I will have some context when I see this come in. I'll be like, oh, okay, we talked. This is what it is, and I'll have some context for that. That will really help me be able to process this stuff and get this sort of set up for these guys and for everybody else that needs to kind of weigh in on what's going on. Does that make sense? So would love to help. Want to serve the church in that way. So if you got some ideas, you got some thoughts, or you take a look at some of those photos and you're like, what if, what if we blow out a wall here? That's what they always do on HGTV. Hardwood throughout, blow out a wall. Anyway, and we'll keep going. All right. So next slide, giving. So as we bring the plans together, you're going to have a lot of opportunities for giving of both time and money. There's one of the great things about I think the wisdom and of the elders that are here, and just kind of the situation of this church. It's in a great position and spot to actually be able to do this. So this building is paid off, and so there's a lot of places where we've got a good foundation for moving into another facility and being able to to do these renovations and do. I mean, some things obviously are going to have to. They're larger projects that we'll have to stage out, but there's a lot of great opportunity just due to the diligence of what has happened over the last decade here. So but what we do know is that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for giving as well. We're going to try to isolate what some of those projects are, so you can see kind of where your giving goes to some of these projects, and maybe you can take on a bathroom, right? Maybe what you can donate is a sink, whatever it is. Maybe you can help put it in. Maybe you can help tear out, some of the old flooring. Maybe you can just grab the bottle of vinegar and go nuts, spraying down everything and getting some of that. getting some of that, good old 1965 stank out of the building, right? Because a couple rooms you go in, you're like, yes, there it is. That's it's got that. Couple places it's got that elementary gymnasium funk going on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're gonna get that gone right quick. So there's gonna be plenty of opportunities for that. So next slide, action. So we are. We're counting on everyone to be involved and everybody to take action with this. So, some of the work's going to be done by skilled labor. Other items will require that we all jump in and kind of, help out with that stuff. As far as communication goes, because I know, this is sometimes what the challenge is of managing large projects with large groups of volunteers, because that's where. That's actually a very big challenge, is actually volunteer coordination and all of that kind of stuff. So what we would just ask you to do is just, pay attention to the normal means of communication. We're going to be using email, we're going to be using the bulletin, the Facebook group, and then we're going to be adding a new component, which is going to be a calendar to the website so that we can kind of get out a little bit further on some of these different things, and we can, schedule some of these dates in advance, and get all of those rolling. And so that's some of the action that we're going to take, and that we're going to need. Next slide here. Timeline. I know a lot of people are wondering, like, hey, what are we doing? What's kind of a general thing? So we don't have like major specifics, but I can give you kind of a breakdown. So in June, we would take possession of the building. Right now, there is a congregation meeting in there, and they're going to be meeting over the next, couple months here, and they're going to be winding everything down. And I believe they're not actually merging. I think a lot of the members that are there are just kind of scattering to a couple different places. So I think they need some time to sort of close up shop. And so if everything goes according to plan, we would be taking possession of the building in June. I think probably, didn't they say like June 1st or something, or something to that effect? So sometime in June, taking possession of the building. So that what that would mean of what we would be working on is the main renovations happening throughout the summer. So that's where we're going to, kind of get to work, get a lot of that stuff kind of queued up over the next couple of months. I'll say this too, prior to June, over the next couple of months, what we'll be working on is actually like building out more of a plan and actually getting, contractors and different people in there to give us, real estimates on specific projects throughout the building. And so we'll be kind of queuing those things up, but we obviously don't want to, start anything until they're done. So in June, take possession of the building. All the way through the summer, we're going to be working on a lot of the main renovations. And then in the fall, boom, relaunching SGC in the fall with the kickoff service / party. So, it's a big deal. I know when we kind of finished everything at Metro, and like everything was ready and we were ready for kind of like the first public, whatever. It was a big deal, and you'll kind of, it's what I'm excited about that is it's kind of like it's one of those times where everybody kind of takes notice in the community as well, and it's kind of like a great opportunity to connect with everybody outside of the church and the people that are in the community that we are going to be there to serve. And I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting. Even like, it's got, a couple of very large parking lots in there. And, I know like how, if you were at, even like the fall, like what do we call it? Trunk or treat. That's it. I'm like, wait, what did I, What did I make that slide of again? I can't remember. Yeah, trunk or treat. That's the one. But it's got some really cool like ways that we are going to be able to set up like some new things in the parking lots, and there's it's a really neat, just kind of like walkable community back there as well, and like it's going to be. I think it's going to open up a new like a new location, a new area for ministry. It's really not that far from here, but it's also going to embed us into a new community. And so, a kickoff, that's like a time where everybody kind of, is like, okay, what's going on? Let me check it out. There's always like new people that are just curious, like what's happening, and they come to, they'll come to grand openings, like that's kind of the thing. And what's so great is they don't even know it yet, but they just think, hey, I'm going to a grand opening to see what's going on, and we are going to show them who Jesus is and give them the opportunity to submit their hearts and their lives to him and to follow him and for their lives to be changed. They don't know it yet. But that's what we're doing. That's like, they just think, oh, hey, I wonder what this thing looks like inside. I've never been in here, right? And so that's what they're thinking. But we're gonna do the 1-2, right? And it's gonna be a good time. I cannot wait, right? So so that's kind of the big idea in terms of timeline. Next slide here. Planned. So right now, what we have begun doing is just kind of working on a master plan for building usage and just kind of coming up with some, big ideas for kind of where we're going to locate some of these things and how we're going to kind of reallocate some of the space in the building to do different things. I'll take you on just a quick little tour. We did some photos, and so, and I'm going to post these photos on Facebook as well so that you're able to just go. I think I've got like maybe 60 or 70 photos of like the different rooms and things like that, so you can just kind of go through there and hopefully get some ideas, get some thoughts, be excited to roll up the sleeves, those kinds of things. So first image here. This is kind of like the entryway when you first come in. You're looking at the main sort of lobby area. After you come in and go up a set of stairs, this is the lobby. And, so we're going to obviously be cleaning a lot of this stuff out and kind of upfitting this into, just a good space where everybody can kind of mull around and hang out beforehand. And, we've been talking about, this is, some of this we'll probably be having, a lot of the bookstore and like some of the books and things like that in there where people can purchase those books and kind of go right out into that lobby, kind of move the flow. Now, if you go to the right here, what that kind of leads you into is the sanctuary. And so that's kind of the first, when you're in the lobby, you make a right, you're in the sanctuary. A lot of the stuff in the sanctuary, there's a lot of, there's a lot of kind of awkwardness with kind of the front stage because it's set up, with a different focal point and with a different kind of way of doing things, being that it was a Presbyterian church. So we'll probably rework a lot of that kind of front sort of stage area. And there's a number of things that we've kind of got to do to sort of upfit a little bit of what's going on in this room. But they definitely did keep that, that room has been fully kept up. So that's pretty cool. And that's a fully functioning organ in there. And that thing sounds so stinking cool, doesn't it? Oh, man. So it's funny because, Willow around our house, like we always come down and she's playing Joy to the World. And like literally every day I hear it on our piano downstairs, you're walking and I'm like, baby girl, this is like almost April. We can't be playing Christmas songs in April, but she just keeps playing Joy to the World. Well, we went to the building and we were like testing the things. I was like, Willow, this is time. It's time. Joy to the World. Hit us, And I'm telling you what, boom. We're talking like, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Marlene on this because like Willow was killing it on Joy to the World, and I'm like, this sounds incredible. You know, like it's just because these are all like this is a fully functioning organ that is in there that is all like it's powered by like wind and bellows behind. Behind that whole thing, you see there's these giant pipes that, you know, that like when you play it, it gives you some, it's like some bass to the chest, you know, like it's like that kind of thing. So we'll definitely, I mean, that we'll definitely have to break that out on some special occasions. So anyway, if you go back sort of out of this room and back into the, actually go back to the first photo. So if you're in this room right here and you make a left through, through those doors there, then you hit this third photo, which is there's kind of it's just kind of a room in there, and then off to the left of these rooms, there's a whole bunch of smaller rooms right off of here. So, and this is a pretty nice area of the building because that was also kind of an area that they kept up. So these are a couple of rooms that are sort of like right off that area. And so, you know, this is probably where we'll have a lot of the children's classes upstairs, at least like that's, you know, that's kind of the initial game plan here. There's several kids kind of classes that are there, and they're kind of like right up there. So it's not, there's also a number of like classrooms that are downstairs, kind of tucked away. You know, but we think at least for right now, this actually would be, you know, a pretty good area for the kids. So there'll be like a nursery in there, and then toddlers, and then I think there's one other. I think there's three. There'd be like three kids classrooms, and then at the very end of this hall, there's a bathroom that's there, and so they wouldn't have to come out into the main area. There's a little bathroom back there, so they can kind of, you know, go back there. But that one will need to be you know, given some love too. Redid that bathroom because it is it needs a little help, you know. So so there's a couple of classrooms back there. Next photo here. Yeah, so this is the small chapel that's basically on the other side of the building, and it is such a cute little chapel. It is so neat. Like when you go in there, like, you know, it's you know, it's got these just gorgeous like wood ceilings, and it's a very, you know, with the sort of stained glass at the front of it. It's just a gorgeous little chapel. And so, you know, we've been talking about you know, like kind of use case for that, and that's probably at least right now where we would do you know, the adult Sunday school classes and things like that. You know, would be over there in the small chapel. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of opens up in terms of possibilities, because it's almost like a little small 100-person church connected to a larger church. It's almost you know, so there's just a ton of opportunities I think that we can have for you know, just even on mission of like, you know, potentially planting other churches, or like letting other little starts do things, or using it for you know, for Sunday school, and, you know, those kinds of, I mean, there's just so many different opportunities and possibilities that now we just have to, you know, say like, hey, God, lead us, show us, you know, what, like how can we use this tool for your kingdom and the you know, just in a maximum way. So small chapel over there, that there's some repair that needs to happen, and there's some things that need to happen in here, but, you know, it's in really good shape, that chapel. So next photo. So when you first walk in the doors, you'll see this hallway to the right. So if you're looking at if you're looking into the lobby, and you make a hard right, that's the hall you're going down. This lines the sanctuary. So the sanctuary technically is just right to the side of this hallway. And then there's offices and sort of storage areas on the other side. So there's some offices down there. And the cool thing here, go back one slide. So the other cool thing is at the very end of this hallway, there's a door leading right into the parking lot. And so So we've been talking about there's several offices down sort of this way that would be perfect for counseling, and the counseling ministry there, and it's kind of got a separate entrance and those kinds of things. So it would really just be wonderful for creating some more space and creating like good, solid space for all of the counseling that is going on all the time around here. And it would give us some more space to allow other folks that are doing the counseling to have offices as well. So pretty cool. You can go to the next one. Yeah, so this is just one of the offices. I kind of shot that through the door. That was locked up and closed at the time, but you can see that's one of the offices. The next one, okay, there's a bathroom. Yeah. I think I have that one out of order, but that one is that's one of the bathrooms we get to clean up, right? So this what they call in the biz, just like that's just a total gut job. We gut it, and no big deal. Replace some of that stuff, bada boom, bada bing, and then do the camera pan in at the end and be like the big reveal, right? Good times. But it's always got to look terrible when you start off, because it doesn't make for a good TV show if it doesn't look terrible at the very beginning. So I am just trying to, I'm trying to help make sure that the end, so that the end product, everyone's like, wow, and then little tears, I'm just kidding. That's what happens on all the shows, right? So anyway, that's the bathroom. Next photo, yeah. So there's like some storage closets. So as you can see, there's like all of these things like kind of like throughout the building, and a lot of that stuff is, they're like, we're see ya, so a lot of that stuff would be left. So we found like a good solid 20 choir robes. I don't know, but I'm getting one. So so announcements, are gonna be like, right? I mean, no, just kidding. Or am I, right? Am I? I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? But there's all kinds of stuff in this building. So there'll be a lot of like clean out, and there'll be a lot of a lot of good trips to somewhere with some of those goodies. So so that's one of the storage rooms that's in that big hallway as well, that I think could really work well for an office. Next one is this is kind of just showing a little bit on the side of the building. There's a lot of trees and things like that, but there's a lot of just kind of overgrown like shrubbery and things like that really a lot of it will just need to be cleaned out and raked and put in bags. And we're gonna we'll have like some roll-off dumpsters that are out there for the first over the course of the project. So a lot of it's just pulling stuff out, cleaning it, tossing it into the dumpster, those kinds of things. So there's a ton of room for like everybody to jump in, everybody to help in a lot of these places. And we're gonna, try to just in a systematic way, try to, just create these opportunities. And then we need everybody just kind of paying attention so that when those things happen. And here's the other thing too, is there's a lot of people that aren't here to hear this, right? And so what we're going to need is everybody that's in this room. We're recording this as well, so we're going to put this on Facebook so that everybody can kind of jump back in and kind of get an update and those kinds of things. But we need all of you as well, just kind of helping us spread the word and talk to people and kind of get this bring everybody else up to speed as well. So I believe that is that the last photo that's on there? So there we have it. There's, just at least an overview of the building plan and just kind of where we're, going with everything and what we're trying to do, and how we're, we just wanted to kind of get everybody up to speed on like what's next, what's the process, where are we going, how are we going to do it. So so there's the building plans. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions? That's a CC joke for all of you who all of you kids that do these presentations every single day, and then and then it's over, and we say, do you have any questions? So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I don't know that we have like all the answers right now, but if you do have any questions, I know we've got at least just a couple of minutes here that we can answer any questions anybody has. Yes, I see that hand.
I was thinking, have we thought about possibly just some of the stuff that's in there and the linen? I know we're coming up on spring cleaning and things like that. So have we thought about doing some kind of a yard sale in the parking lot over there to try to get rid of some things, maybe raise, some money that could go towards some projects?
Yep.
People in the neighborhood in an odd sort of way.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, so that's definitely that is definitely a great idea. And here's what I would say too. This is actually a good. What I would say on that is, fill out fill out a feedback because this is a perfect idea of that, because those are the kinds of things that we'd be like, oh, that's a great idea, but then a lot of times the ideas, they just kind of go into wherever. But we would love to catalog those. But yes, there's been a couple of other people that have actually said the same thing. And so I mean, there's kind of, once we get in there and find out what they're actually taking with them, because I know a lot of the different people, they were like, oh, this clock is sentimental, this thing is sentimental, whatever, so we don't know exactly what they're going to leave behind yet. But if there is enough of that kind of stuff to warrant something like that, I think it'd be a great idea. So.
And even with our own homes, we
Oh yeah.
pack
Yeah.
a handful of stuff and drop it off at Goodwill. Why not try to
Mm-hmm.
sell it?
Yep.
Raise some money.
For sure. Yep. Great.
If we made a budget, do we have a 1-year budget, a 5-year budget?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we're in the process of doing is building that budget, because a lot of these projects, right now, we don't fully know what it is that we are even attempting to do. And so the first kind of step in that is sort of building out a master plan of what kind of items that we would like to do and what we would like to see done, and then getting there's a current budget for this scenario, but we will have to build a new one for the new projects. But part of what we're doing right now is building out that sort of master plan, and then working to get estimates on all of that stuff so that we know, what is it going to cost, and then some of that stuff will have to be well, when are we going to do it, and those kinds of things. So yeah, that's definitely in the works. That's one of the hardest things, because we've got to get the people in there to give us the appropriate estimates for
I
this.
assume too that it's part of it is what do you want to get done this year, next year? What do we have to have done 5 years from now? Where do we want to be 5 years down the road?
Yep. Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yes.
For efficiency, on those feedback cards, you really, more on the online feedback, you really only want one concept per
Oh, that's
comment, and then you can put several so that you can catalog those?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. So the question is,
Feedback card on that?
I'm sorry?
Should we
Yeah. Fill out a feedback card about the feedback process. That's how efficient we are around here. Yeah, I like it. Yes. Yeah. So I would say, I mean, you can. It probably would be easiest to do a separate, just a separate submission, because it's really just your name, email, and a description. So you could fill out multiple ones of those, and then they come in as separate cards. Yeah, that would be great.
And then a different question, do we have an idea or a plan? We're talking about the new building. Do we have, I'm sure we do, but what are our thoughts and plans about this building?
Yes. So I know that there are a couple of thoughts going on here. I mean, obviously this building would either have to be sold or rented or something to that effect. And so I know that there's a number of personal connections that we had kind of talked to about seeing if that would be a good fit for the building. But yes, once all of that is, once we're sure that we've locked in kind of the landing point, then we definitely need to get rolling, dealing with this current facility. So, yep.
And financially, we're okay to do the bridge from this building to that building financially?
Yeah, Pastor Matt, do you wanna speak to the finance part? I mean, I know that you had given kind of an update, maybe a couple months ago, but do you want to just give us kind of a real high level of
Right.
just sort of an overview on some of those finance things?
Yeah, so right now we have approximately $130,000 in the bank. And then the ideal situation would be able to sell this building, for 150,000, something like that. And then that would obviously give us, quite a bit of, assets to be able to remodel, renovate, and quickly pay off the financing for this other property. And so, and along the way, so at this point, we're not dependent upon selling this. Like, we have to get rid of this quickly and get some cash right away so that we, can even, do something like obviously there's certain main things like the roof that, we can't, can't have, being dripped on Sunday morning, a bare minimum, a building needs to at least be a halfway decent rain shelter. And so, so there's certain things that we do have enough money to be able to deal with those, major issues. And then, Lord willing, hopefully selling the building, and or some kind of fundraising where, okay, we know we have this amount of money needed if we're going to do this, and and it's the Lord's people, the Lord will provide, and it's amazing how He mobilizes people. You think of the way I've been reading through the book of Exodus, and just the way in which the Lord had the Israelites plunder the Egyptians. It's just and then all of a sudden that's all that was needed to build the tabernacle, and then the Lord raises up Bezaleel and Aholiab, and so that's a little bit where we're at financially. So we're not like super dependent upon getting rid of this building, getting cash right away to be able to make the transition. But it obviously would be nice, and we're going to try to, spruce this place up. Josh take his, pictures of the place, and, maybe, even just making the the landscaping look as nice as possible. I remember a guy I know trying to sell a house. He invested like $1,000 in the landscaping, all these flowers, and immediately, it sold. This woman was like, I always wanted to have the most beautiful yard on the block my whole life, and she convinced her husband to buy the property. So that's a little bit of breakdown. Any questions on that? Okay. Well, I think we're probably about out of time, so maybe I'll just pray, and you guys can go shove a donut down your gullet. Lord God Almighty, we just praise your holy name, and thank you for this opportunity. And Lord, even now we pray that the sellers would be favorable towards this offer we made, and that we would be able to move forward, and also, Lord, even as it's been raised, that we would be able to sell this building at a decent price, and this would provide. Lord, we know we are dependent upon you to provide for our needs, and so we rest in you, in your provision for us, and we thank you that you always care for us and care for your children well. And so we lean into that reality, that though the lions may grow weak and hungry, those who fear the Lord will lack no good thing. We say this in Jesus' name. Amen.